No way. Okay.
So, welcome everyone to attempt number 1 at this podcasting shabockle / ice task.
With all of the copy kids.
Yeah, that's true.
Should
So
we
we have,
introduce ourselves?
we have Sel, we have Raz, Huni, Amy,
What's
myself,
up?
Shlois, and Lee.
Young Lekotla over here.
Lekotla. Okay. All right. So the topic for today is
Whoa, you forgot the guest.
what guest?
We have our
What?
guest. We have a guest appearance.
Someone's hiding in the back. I think it's.
They call her Schmivey. They call her Nivy. But her real name is Ivy.
Give it up for Ivy, guys.
Welcome, Ivy.
All right, Lee. What's the topic for today?
Okay, today's topic is going to be adulting.
Oh.
So, like, we hear that word a lot, and it's jumping around on.
I'm shivering
everybody's
as you
lips.
say it.
Dude, shit. So, but what is adulting? Any thoughts?
I think that's the first thing is kind of like, what does it mean to be? When you say adulting, what is the first thing that comes to mind? What's the most copy paste cookie cutter version of that?
I think it's make believe pretending like we're doing the right thing or trying to do the right
Make
thing.
believe.
I think when we do anything that's like not purely fun and requires like a lot of thinking, we're like, yo, this adult stuff, eh? So we've coined a term around responsible activities. Yeah.
Quote unquote.
Yeah.
Is that like a unanimous thought that like adulting is a negative connotation, or
Okay,
is that
no,
not
no.
for everyone?
I feel like
Memes.
I don't
Meme
feel
memes
like
and more
memes.
memes.
So, like, I think it's just one of those things that has to happen, but it's always met with a lot of trepidation because you're not sure if you're going to be able to.
Trepidation.
Can't spell that.
Yeah. Hey, we shouldn't say that on the thing. We are copywriters. There's Google. There's spell check.
This is exactly how you get your application just cancelled.
You see, you need to be adulting to get an application cancelled.
We see you, Amy.
So I mean, I feel like it's become like a funny thing. So then, whenever we can have to do something that's responsible, because it does get a little bit scary, we've made this term adulting, so we can make it in a way that's a little bit funny. You're like, bro, I have to go adult. And you're like, oh no, but it's just a term for anything that isn't like jollying, chilling with your mates.
Like usually when you're in like a tired, stressed out mood, or like in the morning, you're like, gosh,
Adulting.
you're feeling like adulting. You think about all the chores and the errands that you have to run for the day.
There's a little bit of banter around it, though. It's definitely a banter term.
Fair enough, yeah.
So then on that, like, Huni, what does it take to successfully adult? Like, you are now adulting
Why are you
like
asking
a
Huni?
pro. Because Huni's been quiet. I want to know, like, what is
First
all
of
your
all,
ducks
I
in a
think
row?
adulting goes hand in hand with being forced to grow up as an adult. Like, I don't know how I don't know if you guys still do your parents still sign application forms for you?
Oh yes, that's
You have
actually
to
another
literally
thing.
do
It's
that
like
yourself.
you're right, and make your own appointments and like
like
check
being
your
an
car
adult.
yourself
Exactly.
and
Like knowing when you need to go to the doctor, when it's becoming dangerous,
know?
those type of things.
Yep.
You're
you can't
very much
phone your mom.
responsible for managing your own life.
Exactly.
And that's why it's so scary.
Is it that extra bit of independence you never really wanted? Like, you wanted independence, but you didn't you want this much independence.
Yes.
It's like you were never ready for it, honestly.
Yeah.
You were-
Adulting's
Ooh,
unwanted.
wait, guys. Sal looks like he's about to say something.
I was just saying, like, with the idea of adulting, it's like this is the strangest thing in that the idea of adulting or being an adult, like, since like when you're a young kid, it's like this most amazing thing, and then you finally get there, and then you don't realize like the mechanics that it takes to like keep it, like to remain an adult. So like paying bills and taking yourself to the doctor and shit, paying for medical aid, I think is like wild. Like for me, like that's like one of the signs, like one of the things for me that
Makes you adult.
like removing your name from like your parents' medical
But it's
aid.
definitely like a new term. Like, I feel like with these things are always done by our parents, but because we're like a generation of, we make anything that is like a little bit hard into banter or a meme or something, that we've coined this term adulting so that we can make it maybe like a little bit of joke in it, because our parents also had to go to like make sure they stayed alive and things like that, but we're like, yo, this adult stuff.
So then let me put forward a question then on that.
We're
So,
actually just creative.
yeah, if adulting is this difficult thing, it's seen as a shift in lifestyle, why are we not prepared before it, like, it comes? Why is it now all of a sudden we
feel
have to adult? Why is Why is it not something that we already know
To be frank,
slowly?
How do you prepare someone to adult?
Yeah, and to your parents, we're always babies.
My baby.
well, to be frank, I always just felt it's because there's no manual for it. I mean, it's one of those things that you're thrown into with an expectance of how to handle it. Like when you actually get into becoming an adult, there's this whole expectation that okay, now you're supposed to know these things.
What?
But yeah,
Sorry.
see, like
You see,
there's this idea you're supposed to know how to fix your car, how to manage your time accurately, how to book appointments, how to handle your bills, budgeting, all taxes, all of those kinds of things.
So then, on that note, do you not feel like there's a missing link between what you're supposed to know and how you're supposed to actually learn to know it? Where is the responsibility? Where does it fall? On parents? On us? Where should we get the information to be ready? School?
See, I think it very much comes from like two places. Like firstly, we don't actively seek out the education of it ourselves. Secondly, it has to come from an educational standpoint, because then like in schools, high school, or whatever, like we're usually taught, okay, you're going to be writing essays, you're going to be doing math, you're going to be doing science, but you're not taught how to budget, you're not taught how to do taxes,
Yeah.
or like, unless you're at a boarding school.
But I feel like
Those skills are unnecessary that
Yeah.
they teach us at school.
So,
Well-
Amy, do you think that it's unrealistic to expect people to just know how to do all these things?
well, not necessarily unrealistic, but I just feel like if you were to put adulting into perspective, you come up with the term like teenagering, and that would be like you have, like your mom be like, please go out on Saturday night, please teenager, you know, like that gives a context. But the things that we're doing as teenagers aren't things like going out on Saturday nights is like physically just being a human, whereas like knowing how to fill in your taxes isn't something that we're naturally born with. So is there a way to prepare for it? No, it's a living and learning game, and that's why I feel like adulting is such a funny thing, because we do mess up, and that's why we've come up with this term of, yo bro, I messed up, hey,
See,
I did not know how to
deal
adult.
is the stress of it can be like, okay, a single misstep is enough that it could just mess you up for life. Like,
I love adulting.
you'd be you could be broke, you could be out of a job, you could be out of your apartment,
Can you guys smell that? There's positivity in the air.
Ooh, wow, man, this has been a really positive podcast.
It's just scary, guys. It's scary because adulting, it's growing up, and growing up means facing the unknown, and facing the unknown is scary.
That arises the topic that you were speaking on just now when you mentioned something like going out and teenaging. Another thing is like we refer to some actions that are supposed to be done as like paraphrasing it. It's like asking a girl like, do you even boyfriend? Like,
Yeah.
Even boyfriend.
Do you
Yeah.
even boyfriend?
Is that a
Can you
thing?
even boyfriend?
Do you even
It's a real
boyfriend
thing.
girl?
Do you even boy?
So then, Raz,
Do you even
we've been speaking
boyfriend?
about the physical
That's such a good
drawbacks of
point.
adulting with the
Yeah.
tax and this, and you should be able to do that too. Where do we put in the emotional aspects? Like, what makes you emotionally ready? What are the challenges that are different psychologically now as opposed to before?
Okay, first I want to hear your opinion on this.
Yeah, let's get your opinion on
Well,
it.
this is why I asked, because I think it's something to. I don't really. I mean, at this point,
Forgot
I think it's very
His
complicated.
opinion.
I just wanted. I wanted to get a couple standpoints from all of you guys. But this is the reason I put it forward is because I'm not entirely sure.
So should
If
we give
it's-
you a standpoint and then you can
Yeah, I
give yours?
think. Just.
Raz, you want to
off.
start
I
us
think
off? Or
with,
some?
with adulting, like in essence, like with adulting, it's expectation. It's about meeting an expectation. I mean, if you think about the chores that you have to do, the things that you have to, the rules that you have to abide by, all the standards that you have to meet, it's all an expectation. Getting back to what Lee was saying of how in schools we aren't taught that, it's 100%. Thinking back, I think I would have been like that much more prepared for life if, for life orientation, for example, for matric portfolio, we're expected to complete a learner's license, for example. I think that would be a dope skill to pick up, and it's valuable, down the line. And other things like filling out taxes and whatnot. It might not be relevant at the time, but like certainly like I could do I could have done with that knowledge, and with that expectation, because from a learning point of view, because it's not taught to us in theory. When it comes to the practical side of it, it's even more overwhelming from an emotional side. When
how do you change a tire?
You know what I mean? Just imagine
Still don't know.
you're in third year now. You're an adult.
I don't have to.
A scenario where you're paying for your own studies via student loan. There's rent to worry about. There's groceries, electricity, maintenance.
And there's an emotional aspect, like Lois talked about.
You know what I mean? All of these expenses,
Right.
all of these
But I think we should
living
touch on the
standards that
emotional,
one has to
yeah.
live up to, and still come to school and still be a student. And then outside of that, if you're not working a 9 to a part time, trying to hold that together
And stay happy.
and meet all of those expectations. And some, like you say, in between all of that, navigating, you need to love yourself. And
So let's use that as a segue to our first subtopic, which is, it's a slippery slope to feeling doubtful in your abilities when you can't keep up with everything that you're supposed to be able to keep up with. How important is self-love in a time where you honestly feel like it's too much and maybe you're a failure? How important is it for people to remind themselves that it's okay to not be okay all the time?
This brings me back to a talk we had with Pepe Merez, the guy who
Name drop.
the dude from Joe Public.
I don't think you're allowed to call him a
He
dude.
had this the sir,
Yeah.
The
from Joe
gentleman.
Public. The gentleman, yes.
Future boss.
Thank you, madam. Yeah,
Hi,
so,
me.
like my interaction with one thing that really stuck with me when he was having his talk was that he said he was like, usually one of the best things to do is always look at yourself in the mirror and give yourself some positive reinforcement. Like,
Definitely.
I am clever, I am the best, or
I'm
what have you. Just
successful.
like, yeah, I am successful, that kind of thing. Because that positive reinforcement comes from other people once in a while. Like, it's a rare kind of thing. But like, for it to actually come from yourself, is when it feels genuine.
Well, I feel like that's what adulting is. It's self-responsibility. For the first time in your life, you're responsible for your happiness, for your direction, for everything.
Yeah.
And from an emotional perspective, like you were asking, I feel like this is the first time in my life where I feel that it becomes me. I make the decisions of, I need adults in this moment. I can't go out tonight. I know that my friend needs me, and emotionally, I need to be there for them. But at the same time, like Lee's saying, there is that thing of, even if you make it till you break it and say it every morning, I'm happy, I'm happy, I'm happy. Because that's fine, because eventually it will become true. But like you're saying, adulting is ensuring that you are completely responsible for not only the success in the physical, but emotionally. So yeah, that's why it gets overwhelming. I think that's where the banter and the joking came from.
Not only that, but I feel genuinely it's things that need to be done at the end of
Definitely.
the day to survive,
Survival.
to get to point A to point B in whatever you want to do. If you're not going to,
Up to you.
it is. And we, as much as we can say like this adult thing is hard and whatever, but at the end of the day, we still need money in our bank account. We still need an education. We still need a lot of all of these aspects that we find challenging. If we don't go make the appointment, we're going to get sick
So
at the doctor.
Ivy, join the conversation. How empowering
Guest
is it?
star. Woo!
How empowering is it when you get to it's not always easy.
I mean,
Okay.
But when you get to become your own cheerleader, so to speak.
well, it depends.
And again, I'm sure it's not always the case. Often we just go, "Oh my God, you're trash," and you look at yourself in the mirror. But like, it happens, you
so
know.
what's the?
So the thing is, how empowering is it? Because we've all had moments where we really feel like we can do things, and we're supporting ourselves. What's so important about that?
Can you rephrase that question?
I feel like what he's trying to ask is that.
So
So-
okay, essentially, with being your own backup, as opposed to like relying on parents and relying on others and relying on teachers to tell you that you can, having to realize that in a world where people are often looking out for themselves, having to give yourself that raise. Why is that so important?
So, maybe what role does cheerleading play in relation to adulting?
Like, and I feel like this should go out to the listeners as well. Like, what do you feel is the importance of
Being your own cheerleader.
self-actualization? Yeah.
Well, I think it's just like a very empowering thing in the sense that you're doing this on your own. Like, yes, you've had teachers and parents to guide you, but at the end of the day, they're not like your manuals to this. It didn't actually teach you that much. It's your own journey you have to live through. And I think there's like a great sense of achievement that comes with actually like handling things on your own. Like, you reach those certain milestones where it's like, oh, okay, I've just moved out the house, I got my own place now, or oh, I just bought my first car, or whatever. I think it's like a very not only empowering thing for yourself, but also just to see other people like your age as well, like getting a grasp of things and learning from one another about, oh, this is how they handled their taxes, or this is how they handled their car insurance, or
So,
whatever.
Avi, can I ask you a question? Do you feel that actually with adulting is actually, as hard as it is, there's definitely a renewed sense of success, and like when you accomplish something that is completely because of yourself, do you think that's like so do you think there's like a greater sense of success because you're adulting?
Yeah, because essentially you're doing everything on your own. It's not your education that got you to teach you how car insurance works, or how to flip and fix your toilet when it doesn't work, or whatever. It's not your education or your parents. It's literally all you. And when you figure out that it's all you, and you figure out everything on your own, it's just like a very empowering positive side of adulting that I think people can actually look forward to.
On that note, I think what you essentially also trying to bring across is that just like we look up to our lecturers and our teachers and family members and so forth, is that they can only tell us so much. We have to experience certain things to understand the importance of it.
They also trying to adult though.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I had this one conversation my dad was having like with my sister when she was a teenager, and he just went on in saying like, this is my first time being a dad to a teenager. This is the first time you being a teenager too, and it's something that stood by me all the. Do you know what I'm saying? So that stood with me like ever since. So when he approaches situations, is rather like has to question, because he's also trying to be a dad. It's the first time he's doing things too. So it's our first time experiencing adulting.
That's actually quite a nice thought, guys. Adulting actually is a thing that when you're stumbling, you can realize that everybody is adulting, like especially the people that you think they've got their life together. That's just their course of adulting.
Experience too. It's like we all genuinely don't know what we're doing, but we're trying to do something.
It's a replacement of the word love.
Is saying it's also that like certainly coming into like my 20s or whatnot, one thing I'm appreciating is like an outlook with regards to adulting, in the sense that looking at adulting as a life stage instead of it being as like a I think some of the frustration, a lot of the frustration lies in how we identify with the idea or the concept of adulting. So suddenly if we aren't making this much, or
definitely
we suddenly we lose ourselves
we're not adulting properly
in defining who we are. Okay, I didn't make finalists for Lurie's, for example.
But you create that in your head, which is the scary thing.
Precisely, but at the same time, it comes with like realizing that this is just like you say, it's just stuff. It's things that has to be done. It's a checklist of things that's
life.
It's life. But it's not at all. It's not you. It's not Amy. Just because Amy's inability to, whatever the task or whatever,
it doesn't mean you're not adulting.
It does not mean you are any less Amy than you are now.
I think that's such a good point though. We forget that. I feel like that's what often makes adulting hard, is going back to the cheerleader. Is yes, it's important to be a cheerleader, but so often we're not our own cheerleaders, even unintentionally. Like, I literally saw a meme yesterday. It says, me to me. It says, bitch, you stress me out. And it's true. That's who stresses me out. I stress me out.
And then that's why we always have these conversations where we redirect, or we go back to the idea of, the inner child.
Definitely.
So I think it's because it's a result of identifying with the whole adulting too much that you begin to lose it, because you get so caught up in this and like all, I mean, things that are pertinent for us for life to continue, but you get caught up in them, thinking that in order for you to be you need these things.
Yes, definitely.
Very often materialistic or very superficial, like
defined by.
So we've been talking a lot about the social pressures of getting things done, right? Now the one thing is, sure, things had to get done by adults before, but now we're living in a time where things are happening at super speed. So the question is, how do we prioritize in a world where there isn't enough time in a day?
Don't ask me.
Okay.
Can I have the answer, please?
See, now that is a multifaceted... Shoot, that is a deep one.
Yeah, can you actually just give us
'Cause-
a question one more time?
Right, sure. So the question was, how do we prioritize in a world where there isn't enough time
We feel
in a day? We know that because we have access to, I mean, it's all well and good that you can say we now have access to A, B, and C, which makes things streamlined, but the expectation goes up as well.
Frankly,
Because you have email, you should be answering instantly. Because you have this, you should be doing this quicker.
That's mindset.
So I mean, that's an expectation. It's a fact. So how do we get things done, and how do we prioritize what's important, what's not important?
Lee?
so like, frankly, it's about understanding the importance of whatever priority you're delving into. Like, how does it affect
Yeah.
what kind of end goal that you're trying to set? Like, will this situation that if I invest my time into it and set it as a top priority be more beneficial to me than this second option? Like, if I
Okay.
want to, will it be more important for me to actually to fix my car rather than?
So knowing yourself, knowing
Yeah.
what you want.
Yes.
Okay.
Because like you gotta, it's about figuring out, okay, this is gonna happen, but then this is gonna take this long. But I want to make sure that I can have 1, 2, 3 steps for myself, and so that like, for example, if I am trying to fix my car, then I know that it's going to be important for me to get this thing done before I go to the job interview, which is 2 weeks from now.
Yes.
Or else I could set that aside, save my money, and go to the job interview using public transport, or get a friend to drop
So
me
you're
off.
saying prioritizing goes hand in hand with planning,
Exactly.
right?
Can I say then, Lois, I'd actually like your opinion on it. I feel like, to answer your question, I just personally think is part of adulting is getting to know yourself, and getting to know yourself is figuring out your values and morals, and through that you're able to prioritize stuff. So even if it is work and stuff, whatever, that's how you figure out, that's how you make enough time in the day, is figuring out what to you is your most important and what's going to long term be the best move for you. But that is a hard one to figure out. So Lois, what would be your opinion on it?
Oh no! I'm
The questioner.
I'm the question
think-
master. Yeah.
I think we need to also understand that adulting comes at a different stage in your life. Like, Lois can buy a car when he's 19. His first car, he can buy it himself because he's been saving up for it. Whereas Raz can get her dad to buy her own car. So Lois is already adulting, but like Raz
is also adulting, but
in a different way.
Yes.
She can have like a startup business that she recently just started.
Give her give your name.
That's exactly what it, I've also reached this point now in my life. I'm not bragging, I'm just saying.
No, dude, bragged. You
I
deserve
started
it.
off like my own business now, as when you were saying. Thanks for the props there, man.
Call 10210. Now get 50%.
And I'm trying to also find myself in prioritizing everything. So Monday starts off with school, Tuesday internship 1, school again, business. It's like I'm trying to reach all of these things at one time that I don't know what to focus on, as Amy was saying.
And
what is
there,
the priority?
Is there a level of importance of which one of those is more important to you?
That's exactly the point that I'm trying to reach.
What's your definition
and
of
I think,
success?
yeah, I think that comes with doing something and doing it passionately is where I'm at
Definitely.
right now. So I'm trying to give my full attention to everything till I feel like I'm drained out in everything. I don't want to still feel
But
like
happy.
I don't want to still feel like I have time to complete a certain thing. If I'm getting a shoe order today, I want to make sure it's delivered. If I get
For
a task
sure.
from my
For
for
sure.
sure.
Oh,
Yeah.
So if I get a
Can I spend a day in your shoes?
Oh,
Sorry.
baby, stop.
if I have a task for an internship, I want to make sure that that's completed in time too. So I think prioritizing isn't anything if you are passionate about something.
Rod's making such a good point. That's what's going to make adulting okay.
If you
put
you
passion
in it,
into
then
adulting, into life.
exactly. If you're passionate about what you're doing, you don't have to foresee it as you working. You're just showing your passion off. That's what you're doing.
But realistically, often to get to where we want to be, there is going to be a lot of things we don't want to do and things that
Yeah.
we're not passionate about.
That's the adulting part.
Even parts of our jobs that we are passionate about, there are subsections of that we don't enjoy.
Studying, for example, there's so many subjects we
we
don't
so
like.
we have a thing. Yeah, we have a thing between motivation, which is what usually sets us on a path to like, yes, upward trajectory, feeling confident, feeling good about this. And then when that motivation fades, which it always does,
Yeah.
you get discipline.
Wow.
So the discipline is what's
put that
super
on a plaque.
important. I think it's already on a plate, it's already there. A discipline is, so now, do any of us as adults struggle with discipline? If so, what's the hardest part?
Yeah, I'm Amy, and I struggle with discipline.
Hi, Amy.
I think with discipline.
Sal, you very disciplined. I must say, if someone that I've learned anything about discipline, Sal's very inspiring. But I feel like because you're goal orientated. So tell us about it, Sal. Give us.
Sal's gonna be like, actually.
For you.
Oh, now you got him blushing.
Yeah.
Sal, tell us.
I think with that, it's the most frustrating part when it comes to, discipline or following any kind. Well, it's routine, really. And if you're not a fan of routine, it can feel rigid sometimes.
Confining.
And other frustrations of feeling inspired and kind of settling into a routine, and then
But doesn't routine become boring for you?
the novelty wears off eventually. You know what I mean? You know when you start a new diet plan, it's
Yeah.
like the first week.
So then what do you
week
do?
and a half, hey?
What do you do to ensure that that part of adulting is successful once the novelty wears off? Is that where your discipline comes in?
So for me, when it comes to like adulting, I kind of I use like the rule of 33, in that like 33% of the time you split your time up into
Thirds.
33% you surround yourself with people that are at the same life stage as you.
All right.
The other 33 you spend with people that are like a level lower than.
So what do you mean by lower?
Level lower would be, in this context, would be
People that
someone-
you could inspire.
Yeah, so like a first year.
But not lower, but maybe
Not-
that are
Oh,
on
I
the
see what you
path
mean.
to where you are getting
Which
to.
is why I say life stage. Not,
I get what you're
not
saying,
in
like a
a-
lower life stage, cool.
Lower
Not
life
in
stage.
Or someone
and
that
then,
you can help.
Quality.
and then the other 33 is someone who's at a higher life stage than
Well, that's
you.
brilliant.
So
That's
someone that's working. So when you find
inspiration.
yourself in a way that you're drawing from people that are in a like high life stage, and you're so learning about the SARS and all of that, like adulting stuff, or the adulting that you still need to.
So can I ask a question? So it's
kind of-
inspiration, leadership, and what would you say
And
the third one was?
mentorship.
and mentorship
And
as well.
mentorship. Okay.
So and for me, using that, I find that I'm stimulated, in my kind of world, because again, it goes back to that thing of being able to. It's really dope to like come to varsity, and it's really dope to come to varsity, for example, and have like a conversation where we're all stressing about the same thing.
Yes.
Because we're all adulting, and then in the context of
Gives sense of
an
relief.
essay or brand challenge, it's a shared experience.
Brand challenge.
As well as just for one's own confidence, I suppose, and just all it is with adulting, as it was said earlier, it's all about experience. So if I have a conversation with someone, let's say a first year, and they have this problem, and I can weigh in on it because I've experienced it, and for that person it might be everything. I might be giving them dropping like the maddest insight for them and their adulting. For me, that makes me feel more of an adult. In fact, I take that off as an adult kind of thing
100%.
with the mentorship, and that's
Good way to
also
live.
it's also, I suppose, looking at that, it's also how you look at adulting. It could be, you could look at it as like this
Black abyss.
black abyss, you know what I mean? And just like scary concept, but you could also look at it as
Mindset.
a mindset and adventure. You can play with it and take from it, take what you need out of it.
Right.
But then
So your discipline comes down to the rule of 33s.
I'd say the rule of 33 is
Inspiration,
Okay.
mentorship, and
Oh, sorry,
leadership.
guys. It's my phone.
Did.
Ignore that. Apologies. All right. So sorry, I don't mean
That
to
could have
rush
been
you
our
along.
theme
Let's
song.
just because of time constraints.
course.
We've got 2 more subtopics left, but I think let's go ahead and pick one of them.
Yeah.
So we've got relationships as an adult, and I think we're
Oh,
going to
that
go
one's
with
very
non-platonic first, or we can go social media as an adult.
I hate relationships.
Both are
You want to pick one?
I think
'Cause
so-
I've
social
got
media
about
is
5
more-
minutes left.
Should we do
to
social media because we in that world of as copywriters?
I feel like relationships are drama.
Yeah.
He has some,
Yeah,
he has some
they
juice to end it off.
We could kind of put them
So-
together. Let's put them together.
Let's.
Nah, Robert, can you
Adulting.
imagine?
Quinny's gonna start us off.
Yeah.
Adulting and social.
All right, so let's hit up relationships, and I think when we pick up on the next one, we'll definitely pick up on social media.
Okay.
Ivy, talk relationships
Ooh, relationships.
with adulting.
What about relationships?
Friendships or romantic?
No, we're talking romantic here.
Oh, romantic.
Ooh.
Yeah,
We
we're
have
talking
Get it
romantic.
on.
In what sense?
In adult sense.
Oh,
You know what makes it what makes it different now? Now it's no more play.
Yeah. No more
Boyfriend
high
and
school-
girlfriend to the
high school
dance.
sweethearts,
Yeah, so
No more
I
kissing
think-
catches.
Yeah. I
Unless you
think
want to.
definitely what I've noticed from my own personal experience in this whole adulting game is as you get older, it seems like you have less and less time to hang out with homies or even like form proper relationships with people. And then when you do find yourself in an actual like romantic relationship, you find yourself at this point where it's like, okay, I can either A, prioritize this person and actually like really build like a strong, trusting relationship with them, or B, I can prioritize my work, and trying to find that balance between like your partner and your
That's
work.
adulting.
Like,
And your
Amen.
adult life
Amen.
in general is like a very, very tricky thing to get right. But I think once
Welcome
you
to
do get it
adulting.
right, it's like boom, adulting level 100.
And then write
totally
down what
agree.
you do so that we know.
I see where you're going with that, and I feel like I'm personally at that stage now where it's like things need to get done, but you primarily don't know what it is you're supposed to be doing, but you want to build with the other person too. So it's like, are
With
we
them.
getting a car together now? Are we getting a house now? Are we getting a
There's-
dog?
There is,
Even
for
marriage
example,
as
that
well.
a new level of equality. Like you, just like what Raz was saying, there's got to be a mutual benefit, like a support system. So
Well, you
between
want
the two
both,
of you guys.
yeah.
Yeah. So like you have to, if you're in a relationship with, you've got to be at a stage where you're working together to fulfill
Yeah.
Togetherness.
both of your life
Yeah.
goals,
Yeah.
both of your aspirations. I mean, it's not really a relationship in an adult context if you're still supporting your partner. It's more like you're dating rather than a relationship.
Yeah, to Atalee's point, I feel like I don't believe that there should have to be that balance found, because what should happen is that when you do find real love, especially as adults, both you and that person love each other enough that together the pursuit of success, you should aid one another. And yes, you do have to find that balance, but you will find that balance with that real love existing, and if you've gone into the relationship figuring out your priorities. So I feel like if you've got a balance in some sort of in your life before you go into a relationship, that is what is going to ensure that you're going to find a new balance.
The kind of respect that comes with it too. It's like now you guys are always trying to, you're always going to be pushing each other. Like now
To
you
do
don't
better,
just
yeah.
have your own. You don't just have your cheerleader in the mirror. You've got your cheerleader right next to you.
And you understand time is a constraint and you get stressed and frustrated, but yeah, I don't know.
Another thing as well, I think, with relationships is you got to be understanding of one another, not only from like the whole adulting, I have a
Exactly.
job, I have whatever, but also each other's life stage. You might be dating someone that's a lot more ahead of you in age or just like life goals, accomplishments, whatever. Or you might be
Something.
dating someone like much younger than you that's still like new to the whole adulting thing.
But so long as you understand
Yeah,
each
if
other.
you have that understanding, then great. But they might not necessarily understand why you're so stressed because of X, Y, Z, or you might not necessarily understand why they're so confused about ABC.
And I think plays a
Okay.
part
And
in a
you got to
relationship.
find
Yeah.
that mutual understanding of one another's like lifestyles and where you are in your own like journey with adulting.
I missed some because I went out now. I don't know if you guys touched on. Does it discourage certain adults to not want to go for deep, meaningful relationships because of the speed and pace at which adulting happens?
Now see,
Absolutely, I
that-
think so.
There's
Does
a
it discourage?
discouragement. There's a discouragement that comes from opening yourself up, one, and secondly, from because at this point in life, like especially post 60s,
Right.
there's free love is the name of the game. Everybody's trying to look for something that's fun or exciting or
Right.
enjoyable
Yeah,
rather than
non-committal.
something that's responsible.
Yeah.
Because it's all about hey, oh, ooh, man, look at him, look at her, they look fine. Let's get together instead of let's start a life together.
Yeah.
So I think
And more of an intensity.
precisely, it's more about intensity and about passion. But there's the disconnect is that kind of passion and intensity can still be found in something that's substantial.
Definitely.
The only difference is the same way that adulting has this stigma that it's difficult. A substantial relationship has a stigma that it is boring.
I think there's that as well. Do you wanna-
There's so much to talk
Okay.
about around this
Yeah,
concept.
there's a lot to talk about.
Raz,
but-
hit us off.
Wow.
Oh, you wanna go?
No.
Oh, okay, cool.
Okay, someone talk.
I think the other thing as well, it's not necessarily that substantial relationships are also boring, but I think that
Yeah.
initial stage of building a substantial relationship, a lot of people don't want to go through because they're going to be like, I don't know. For me, for example, like the past 3 years of varsity, I'm like, I don't actually have time to like actually try and build like that whole initial stage of a relationship with someone because I got like a million assignments that I need to prioritize over that.
Yeah.
Because I still think that whole like honeymoon phase or whatever that comes with a new relationship is important, but I feel like at the end of the day you need to prioritize what's going on in your life at that point before you actually dive into the whole world of relationships, if that makes sense.
Relationships get confusing when it comes to adulting because, like you said, it's hard to figure out the role it plays, where to play,
Is this
how to
is this
play.
really what I want, or is this what I'm imposing on myself based on what the other person wants?
Raz, what were you going to
Or
say?
even what society
just-
wants.
I was just gonna say, like, I feel like being in a relationship should be something that's easy.
Yeah.
Not a task.
Do you know what I'm saying? We
Shouldn't
shouldn't
be
have to
admin.
feel like, yes, we need like it's admin, or that we feel like we need to be distracted. Like being in a relationship is going to be a distraction. Being in a relationship is primarily for me 2 people coming together and wanting to stay together. For me, it's like I shouldn't have to look at it like, oh, I only spent time with you 4 times this week.
Yeah.
It's that we have shit to do and the shit needs to get done.
Well, I think that happens, like you, with even the way we're discussing it, we do have discussed it. How we started off the thing when you asked us was, well, where do we find that balance? And straight up by having that mindset. So yes, the society often that we live in, or what I don't know who created it, but when we think about relationships, we think of how do you find the balance. But like
Yeah.
Ryan says, we shouldn't even have to think about that. It should be like, oh, I'm in a relationship.
Yeah,
so
like,
I think
I
the best
shouldn't
the best
count,
relationships are when the partner finds that balance,
Right.
if you know what I mean.
So
Definitely.
and that
basically,
comes
what,
with
yeah.
like Raz was saying, 2 people, you know, there's 2 independent
Yeah.
like, kind of entities coming together, choosing to like come together, and with that it's like you push me, I push you, you support me, I
So
support
the right
you.
partnership will work as it subjectively needs to, is what you're basically
Yeah.
saying.
And it shouldn't be like
Okay.
this work. I shouldn't feel like, oh God,
A pursuit
sorry,
of
I didn't
happiness
send
rather
the-
than a
the
pursuit
So
of
good night
morning.
message,
good night
or I
morning.
But that
think
is
that's
childish,
why I
and that's
didn't
why
do
it's
that.
called adulting.
I think it goes. I mean, it boils down to like expectations, really. It's and where it comes in with it shouldn't be like that. Someone who wants to be with you will know how to support you. They will know what
Yes.
matters to you the most.
Yes.
So if you are my
Lollipop.
whatever
Support structure.
painter girlfriend kind of thing, I know like for me what will mean like to if I come visit you and I get you 4 brushes and 4 acrylic paints, that's like everything for you, and that goes towards, you know, your form of adulting, like that, you know what I mean, to push you forward for I don't know, getting whatever it is, you know what I mean, or
Yeah.
being there for someone's like performance
Right,
or
right.
for their practices. I mean, you know what you can do and they know what they can do for you, and it's like that. It's like water. Like it shouldn't be
Like what? Fresh. All right, guys. So
It should
that
just
was
flow.
that was the
Podcast.
yeah, that was the podcast of the copywriting 3rd years, the first
The
one,
writer's
the
block.
trial one, writer's block.
This is
yeah.
the writer's block.
Everybody say bye, gals.
Already.
We're supposed to say bye.
But yeah, all right. So let's leave it at that, and we'll
Next
catch up
time.
again soon. That
We
was
hope
a
to
fresh
give you some
chat.
insight into adulting.
Yeah, insight or more confusion or whatever, you know. is
Whatever
what it
you
is.
gleaned from this,
We
or
aim to
whatever-
please.
whatever you understood from our
Catch
ramblings.
you later.
1, 2, 3. Bye,
Bye, gals.
gals.